War Eagle Auburn fans, welcome back to E2C Network Live, the place where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about all things within the Auburn spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you stopping in just to say hello, chat with us for a minute, maybe even call in tonight to talk about all things Auburn, but most specifically on tonight's live stream, as it has been the case for the majority of the Wednesday night live streams during football season. We're going to preview the next Auburn football game, that being Auburn versus South Carolina, heading to the place where if it ain't swaying, they ain't staying. Williams-Brice, is it Memorial? Williams-Brice Stadium? I think is all this name is. It is there. So we're going to talk about that. I want to hear from you all tonight and hear your perspectives. We're going to do score predictions, so hold on to them. I know you're itching to go ahead and share them. We're going to get all that underway very soon here in just a little bit. A couple things that you can do for us as we get started here. If you enjoy this type of content, we do ask that you smash that like button. It does help the stream out. You can even share it on a Facebook group, a Twitter, anything like that, just to invite some more people to be in here and part of the conversation. Post in the comments right now who you are, where you're from, city, state, international, all that good stuff. With a War Eagle, want to know who's here. We're going to say hello to you, a lot of you that are already commenting here in just a second. And we'll obviously hear from our sponsor at some point throughout the stream tonight. And we're going to take live callers. Headphones are on, so typically that means I'm taking phone calls. If you look at the top of the chat, it should be listed up there. I can't see it on mine at the moment, but there should be a call in line. That is fair game to anyone. You don't have to be on a computer. It can be straight from the iPhone. We have that from some of our past users as well that said that's okay. Don't be shy. You can use it. You can be on camera or off of camera. I would love to hear from anyone tonight your perspectives about this game and just anything about the football program right now. So we're going to do some of that tonight. That's basically the agenda, and I'm excited, even though it's been a little bit of a rough week for the Auburn Tigers. A couple of familiar names already here. We got Kevin Kelly, says War Eagle, good to see you. Felix Gonzalez is here, a channel member and Booster Club member. Dusty, good to see you. Clint Richardson of the Uniform Database. Devin, Rob, Corey, Neil, Rodney. Look at all the channel members and Booster Club members. Y'all have assembled tonight. It's like somebody signaled, like had the horn of like assembling. It said, Booster Club members, channel members, assemble. Okay, that was lame. I'm sorry. Anyway, Rob is asking Clint, what color face mask this weekend? I think the least amount of worries we have this weekend is face mask. It's just how do we not limp so badly into the end of the season, right? We just try to get to the end of this thing and hopefully finish on a high note. But there are some struggles that these Auburn Tigers are definitely having. A lot of conversations, a lot of storylines that are on the table. Obviously, we've talked about in some of the previous live streams. Bo Nick's out for the season in pretty good spirits, it seems like. Same for Anders Carlson with his surgery now completed. TJ Finley's the starting quarterback. I don't think I'm giving breaking news. I think it's been talked about enough that it's fair to talk about these things that it looks like. Why am I blanking on his name at this moment? Wide receiver. One of our wide receivers is potentially going to be out because he's in the concussion protocol. Kobe Hudson, thank you. Kobe Hudson is probably going to be in the concussion protocol if I'm not in the concussion protocol, apparently, because I can't even get the words out. So those are kind of the big key points out of there. This isn't the marquee game that everybody, well, I don't think it was ever going to be the marquee game, but there's probably just a little bit less excitement about it this weekend than there could have been, just simply because of the way that, South Carolina wasn't expected to be world beaters this year. Auburn's kind of on a downtrend at the moment, but obviously they can right the ship in Williams-Brice Stadium. The question is, will they? It's Wednesday. We're about to hear Brother Kyle's sermon on the Auburn Tigers. Well, I hope that you mean that somewhat seriously, but also somewhat in jest, because if I'm the one giving the sermon in any fashion, that's pretty sad. But I appreciate that. I will do my best to do justice to that. I think TJ requested the white face mask. Look, I'm fine with it. The white ones were probably the better of the choices this year. I'd be fine with that. But you know, again, there are probably much bigger issues that we need to be focusing on than just the face mask. Although I'm sure Clint would love something else to write about this year. Rob says, I would have loved to hear heard the conversation between TJ and Cam. So yeah, if you haven't heard, apparently it was said in the press conference that TJ spoke with Cam after, the Bo injury and him getting the starting job, that they had a very encouraging conversation, did a Bible study, all good things, encouraging things to see and hear. Cam's on a bit of a resurgence as well. We've done a video about that here on this channel. So yeah, it would have been great to hear that, but sometimes those things are just for the players or between the gamesmen themselves, since Cam's not a player here anymore, but he'll always be an Auburn Tiger right here. It would have been cool to hear that though. Devin says, honestly, I'm excited to see how TJ Finley does starting. Hate it for Bo, but I'm looking forward to seeing how TJ does leading the team. I don't think Bo or TJ would have wanted TJ to get his opportunity this way, but you got to take it where it comes, right? This is why you're the and backup, and I don't say backup in a bad way, but you are the backup quarterback because you are expected to be ready when the opportunity arises, whether that be Bo getting injured, whether that be Bo not performing a la Georgia State game. You are there for a reason, because you are not supposed to have much of a drop-off when you come in. So he's already shown that one time this season in a very significant fashion. While we have seen him in other games, he hasn't seen significant or really important time like he did in that Georgia State game. So it is his time, and I hope he rises to the occasion. I'm nervous for him, but I'm also excited for him as well. And I think that's the biggest thing here, is I want to say. So here's my first, I guess, sermon thing I want to say tonight. If you've been on the Bo bashing train and you are excited about TJ, I'm glad you're excited, but don't make it about Bo. If you're now becoming on the TJ bashing train because you were part of the Bo bandwagon, don't do it. Don't do it. You hated it. It would go in the opposite way. Let's not do that. Let's and if you're on the Demetrius Davis bandwagon with all those fun rumors that happened this week, this is a time for unity. This is a time to just get behind these guys and, encourage them, stop dogging them, and, really hone in to try to make a really productive end to this season. Neil, yeah, wasn't that really cool to see Cam so if the stats or the storylines were correct, apparently he won. Obviously won the national championship in that stadium. That was his first NFL game. Now his first back with the Panthers again. So the storylines are right in itself for Cam. I'm not going to step out on a limb and say that, he's going to have some type of magical comeback, but it's hard not to feel it when those type of things happen. All right, we got one of our first callers and one of our regular callers in, so let's hear from him real quick. Mr. Kevin, how are you doing, sir?
War Eagle, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Just trying to, get through another week and trying to sift through stories and rumors and whatnot. And so I'm glad to see your smiling face, and I want to hear what's on your mind.
I think TJ Finley will do good this Saturday.
Yeah, I believe it. So if you say he's going to do good, how many yards do you think he throws for? Roughly. Just give me a ballpark.
Somebody on Facebook said 300 yards.
Well, that's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, Bo basically threw for 400 himself if he had, in some certain scenarios. So 300 that's a really good day. So how about this? If TJ throws for 300, we're going to clearly win the football game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about running? Do you think he'll run the ball a lot like Bo did, or do you think he's going to be more of a pocket passer?
I think he will be pocket passer, and couple plays he might run the ball.
I hope so, because they're going to need to keep them balanced, because you remember a lot of the defenses, they had to account for Bo and his, shiftiness and his ability to make plays with his feet. Haven't necessarily seen that with TJ. So maybe they feel like they can take advantage of that little area. So if he can move the ball a little bit, get us moving with his feet some, that'll keep him honest.
Get the running backs going.
Oh man, you're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir here. Don't get me started on the running game and the offensive line tonight. I've said it
Uh,
enough all season.
How about the Auburn men's basketball team?
They were doing really good, and I don't know if you knew, but we are doing those Tuesday night live streams right now where we're discussing the basketball main. So we'll keep it on the football discussion tonight, but yeah, come on over to the Tuesday night streams. We'll do one again next week, and we're going to talk a lot about basketball there. So I will let you, as I traditionally do when someone calls in. Do you want to give me a score prediction? Everybody else, hold on, but Kevin gets the floor since he called in.
Auburn 31 and South Carolina 14.
31-14. I like that one. It's probably a little bit more than I'm comfortable to make at this point, but I could see Auburn handily winning 31-14.
How about the recruiting? How are we doing recruiting wise?
Honestly, I'm not a huge recruiting guy, but I do follow it somewhat. I know the biggest one out there that everybody's been kind of wanting to let him figure out what he's doing is the wide receiver out of Oregon, I believe. He's deciding between Auburn, Oregon, and Clemson. I think maybe it was just Auburn and Oregon, but that's kind of cooled off, it seems like.
Yeah.
There was another offensive lineman that was kind of interesting to watch. Honestly, that's where my eyes are, is just the offensive line recruiting.
How about the guy from Pike Road?
Pike Road. Well, actually, that's funny you said that. I'm actually from close to the Pike Road area originally. It's where I was raised. I actually haven't looked a lot into him, so now that you've mentioned him, I will have to go and make sure I'm well versed on him. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Because he supposed to tell everybody when December gets here.
Yeah.
He will tell everybody where he's going college at.
Right, because the early signing period will be coming up soon. It's already happened for a lot of the other sports, but for football, that's unless it's already passed. I could be wrong, but that's coming up very soon. So if you're interested in recruiting, buckle up because that early signing period is coming very fast. If it already hasn't got here.
Do you think Bo Nix be back at Auburn next year?
That's a great question. We'll kind of I'll answer that. I am leaning towards he will be back now. You remember I said that he wouldn't. He would.
He'd be senior next year.
He would be, but remember I said that he would probably not be back just earlier before the injury.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to officially say that yet, but I think most of what I'm hearing and seeing that we can expect Bo Nix back next year.
Hey, they says some of the seniors might be back next year too.
If they decide that they want to be part of the program still and they have the opportunity to, let's get everybody back in here that we can, and let's try to right this ship back in the right direction, right?
And Auburn High School, 3 of them will be at Auburn.
Yep.
Next
yep.
season.
You got to recruit at home. You got to get them. You got to get those homeboys in. When you can, got to take advantage of what's right there in your backyard.
I might go a couple of Auburn men's basketball games, maybe.
Well, I might see you there, buddy. Well, hey, thank you for calling in tonight. Appreciate you giving us your score prediction.
Okay, War Eagle.
War Eagle, Kevin.
Bye.
Bye. Always good to hear from Kevin. He's one of our regulars. You guys can call in too right now. The link's at the top of the chat window. In fact, as I should remember to do this every so often. I will put the call line in for you right now. You can take advantage of that at any point throughout the show. You can be on camera just like he was, or you can be not on camera, just your voice. I understand completely. Sometimes it's weird being on camera. And here's the interesting thing too, and I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I should have said this earlier. I had a lot of interesting conversations with interesting people in comments and social media this week, some being very, very poor individuals. And I challenged them to show up here on the show and defend themselves and their points. And we'll see if they're not lurking in the background right now, we'll see if they show up and want to talk about what they had to say and kind of stand behind it. Let's see here. All right. I know you guys were talking about it in chat. Let me back up here. Dusty, what are the Davis rumors? I'm sorry. I may have, I got a lot of questions about that when we were kind of referencing things this week on social media. There was this big rumor that came out that Demetrius Davis was, he had removed all his Auburn stuff related on his social media. Apparently people are spending way too much time focusing on these things, way too much time. He there were, you could see a scenario building where it looks like Bo's going to come back, TJ solidifying himself here. So it doesn't look like there's going to be an opportunity for Demetrius right away. You could see the narrative building, but I always wait to get some solidifying stuff on that. So everybody kind of got in a tizzy and in a panic, but nothing really ever amounted to it. In fact, he said on his social media, there's nothing to it. Of course, that could change at any point here. And I try to share some of these things to our Booster Club members in our little quick stories app thing that we have when I have an opportunity. And if you didn't hear from me, obviously I didn't hear anything about it. Neil loves Kevin's prediction. We'll see how everybody else agrees toward the end of the show here. Rob, how does the Davis red shirt work with him probably playing the last two games? Can he? Yes, he can. But remember, Coach said that there are no plans to play Davis. He was specifically asked that. TJ's the quarterback. The backups in that order are Loy and Trey Lindsey. He said there are no plans as of this moment to play Demetrius Davis. So I would not get your hopes up high to see him out there playing at quarterback at least. Do you get him in there in another way? Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. He has, at this point, I think it's 4 games they have. Hello, 3. No, I'm really struggling tonight. 4 games that they can use without burning a red shirt, and they will still be eligible. So we've only got 2 games and the 3rd game left. So clearly within that window, he can play if he'd want to. And Dusty's now confirming that, obviously, there as well. Doug, good to hear from you. Doug, by the way, you got something from us, didn't you? Didn't you? I believe so. If you got that, if you're the one I sent something to, I can't remember. All the Booster Club members kind of get mixed up every once in a while in my head. Let me know if that came in and if that looks good. He says Robert Woodard, linebacker, is a 4-star Alabama commit that a lot of people think is going to flip to Auburn, be a huge get for Harsin. Yeah, I mean, this is probably the time he needs to not make a big class splash, but he needs to move in the right direction, right? It's all about trajectories and then consistency. Right now, where Auburn's at the bottom of the barrel in some of these areas, like recruiting, right now it's about trajectory, getting back up to competitive levels and then maintaining it and not doing this. And that was the thing about Gus, is that he would never have like the top 5 class, but he was consistently in the top 10 minus a year, maybe, or 2, maybe. I think it was only 1 year actually. So the talent was there. It was just never all came together in the right fashion. Stan, good to see you. War Eagle, and thanks for being here. Rob says, I have a face for radio. Well, you can call in and you don't have to see your face. It has an option on there. It's really easy. So don't be shy. Big Simp, good to see you. Larry Davis, running game has to materialize Saturday and could be a long afternoon. I agree completely. Not so much about being a long afternoon, but, it was already so important for Bo and his success to have a run game and offensive line to block for all aspects of the game. It's going to be even more important for TJ, who's going to have a lot of pressure on him to perform or even outperform, because this is for him, in my mind, if I'm him, this is not just him coming in to finish out the season. This is me trying to prove to coach and my team I deserve to be the starting quarterback. And listen, I love that. There's nothing wrong with competition. It only forces Bo to be better. It only forces TJ to be better. It only forces Demetrius Davis, Trey Lindsey, Grant Loy to be better. So competition is a good thing. Woodyard is an awesome linebacker name. Yeah, there's we've had a tradition of having really good linebacker related names at Auburn. Well, just names in general. Marcavius. I'm blanking on a lot of but there was a time we had a Prince at one time. We had a King. We had it was just, we were the team of names for the longest time. Now, Dusty, I am going to disagree with you a little bit there, buddy. Gus's recruiting went into it wasn't his. They had fired him, and then it went into the dumps. And he didn't really. I'm not gonna disagree with you completely there, because it is Harsin's, to kind of pull something together, and he did it. Yeah, so he pulled together some really good recruits. But to say it was, Gus's recruiting class was in the dumps because of him, no, that was because of the way everything was trending, and people know who was going to get fired. And after he got fired. That's the only place I'll disagree with you on just a little bit. We just don't have a running game this year. Games with a good run stats are the exception, not the rule. We need to accept that. So Stan's got a pretty good point here. And remember, I've already referenced this a bunch, talking back with those Georgia fans, asking their opinion about Bobo, and is this what we can expect? And it really seems like this is what this team is going to be under him, and maybe even under Harsin if Bobo's gone someday. That this is a team that uses the pass to set up the run as opposed to the run to set up the pass. And that's a really hard transition for me personally, but that's also a really hard transition for us as traditional Auburn fans, right? That's going to be something that's going to take a long time to get used to. But just because you do that doesn't mean you don't need a solid running game. You know, they did that at Georgia under Bobo. They had a good running game to complement that passing game, but they've really, really, really got to figure this thing out. And it may not be this year. Probably won't be this year. Larry says, love Bo, but I'm 100% TJ now. Well, I mean, I was 100% TJ when he was not the starting quarterback. And I'm not picking on you, Larry, but I think that this whole narrative of love Bo, but, or love TJ, but, we need to stop all that. It's you need to love everybody and support everybody regardless. If they're out there, they have done the job to be the starting quarterback, the starting kicker, the starting long snapper. And that's all you need to know. And you may not like it. You may not frustrate. It may frustrate you at times, but that's just the way it is. You're not paid to make decisions. The head coach is. Big Sam, I'm just worried about our on and off, again, offensive line. How TJ will avoid the pressure. He isn't a great scrambler like Bo was, my only concern. He's just a different type of guy how he moves the ball as a quarterback when he has to, whereas Bo is shiftier, can probably turn on a dime a little bit more, as LSU is the case. TJ's a bigger dude. By the way, at Tiger Walk, I've seen him several times this year, but this last Tiger Walk, I don't know if he just walked closer to me this time. He walked by and I went, that's a big man. And I've literally stood next to Cam before he was Cam Newton and hung out with him for a minute. And Cam's a big dude too, but he's, I think, an inch taller than Cameron. And yeah, he's a big dude, man. So Bo can obviously scramble probably a lot better in this sense of scrambling, but TJ can obviously take a hit, and he had to scramble a lot in that Georgia State game, right? He doesn't make that play without avoiding some of the rush that the offensive line just let through there. It's going to be different skill sets. It's just a matter of, is the skill set that TJ possesses as a quarterback going to compensate for some of the struggles we've had on the offense in other areas? I don't know. Let's see. I wasn't saying it was Gus. I said when he got fired, your class is going to be sketchy without a head coach. So defensive over Gus. Well, Dusty, I think you've been here long enough to know that I do tend to get on the Gus bandwagon, and because I do feel like sometimes a lot of people are overly critical of the guy. But everybody's got different opinions. We all got opinions and they all stink, right? As somebody said, opinions are like, well, I won't say the anatomical term because this is a family show. Let's see here. Need to get to the quarterback. Can't allow him to have all day to throw. That's part of the reason quarterbacks we play have high completion percentages. Absolutely. Dusty and I have talked about this a lot, actually, the whole scheme thing of whether Derek Mason's doing the right things, whether he's, got the right fit for what we have. I think it's clear. I'll give Dusty credit again. He said, I forget exactly what he said, but it was something, you don't ask done this thing to do this certain thing that it's not designed to do. And that is the case, is we are trying to force circles into square holes or vice versa in some areas, but that's just kind of the nature of a transition period, right? Still, you want to try to play to some of the strengths that you do have. It's just going to be the transition year thing. But we do need to get a better rush. And that comes not just from the defensive line, but it comes from scheme. It comes from the linebackers maybe making a little bit more of a difference. But yeah. It's going to take a man to take down TJ. That's a big boy to take down. It is a lot of man. I'll tell you that from firsthand. Third and short should be a QB sneak. That's a lot easier to do that with TJ than it is with Bo. So see, that's the great thing about this is, like if you're worried about the scramble ability for the Bo not having Bo, now you've got a guy that's got the stoutness to be able to drive through a short situation, right? So that's a plus there. Whereas we might have just rolled Bo out and hope he can get the yardage out on the outside. Now you got a guy that can do the cam basically and run through the line if they can block. There's that part of it too. Good to see you, Russell. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. TJ will need to be a precise passer on Saturday. I predict 3 passing touchdowns. Kevin's isn't far off from his prediction. He says we'll find that out very shortly here. Game management is going to be a concern there, and that's the thing too. Is I hope everybody's not expecting TJ to walk out there and just have it all together. Coach said it himself. He said, "Hey, he's been doing the same things in practice. He's been preparing himself the same way Bo has. He just doesn't have the same amount of reps. So that's going to cause some confusion. That's going to cause some frustrations at time. That's the thing is we've reached a point where I'm just excited to see TJ. And I truly am. Even as a huge Bo supporter and Bo defender, I'm super excited to see what TJ can do because it makes me excited for the potential of this team. And if Bo does come back, the type of competition that we're going to have. Because I hope TJ does stay. Will he? I don't know. It's going to get real crowded in that quarterback room, though, for a little bit. Something's probably going to have to give. South Carolina is horrible. Good timing for TJ. Now, their defense isn't that horrible. You remember we were all sitting here about a week ago before the Mississippi State game, and we were real confident. Let's not do that again. South Carolina and Mississippi State are night and day, but I'm a little gun shy after last week. You don't sit up in that stadium, watch a 28-10 lead just disappear and feel good about any football game after that, defensively especially. All right. Let's see. Oh, Dusty here. I think this is what he was saying. You don't ask Brandon Cox to run the Nick Marshall zone read. You wouldn't ask Nick Marshall to run this year's offense. At some point, you got to let guys do what they do best. Absolutely. I think it's a great analogy. And, I guess that's, the frustration too, is because we as players see these things and it seems so obvious to us, but obviously there's reasons, right? In the case of Mason and stuff, why are you forcing them to do things that they weren't recruited to do, they weren't set up to do? Well, it's because he's trying to get them to the point where they can do that more successfully and be better in that certain scheme or something like that. And that comes with bumps and bruises. On the same hand, though, you've got to use some of that time letting them feel comfortable in what they do know what to do. They're paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to make these decisions. I'll lean on them for now. All right, real quick, keep your comments and questions going. You can call in at any point. I want to go ahead and take this time to remind you of who our sponsor is for our live streams this month, and that is manscaped.com. You need to go take advantage of some of the opportunities that you have to purchase some of the best gifts and men grooming at manscaped.com using the code E2C to get 20% off plus free shipping. And we talked about a lot of the different products this month. I've talked to you about the razor, the lawnmower 4.0 that I've tried out and I love. It has plenty of great features. We've talked about the body washes and the shampoos. The other thing that I'll mention again tonight, even if you're a guy that says, I don't really need any of that stuff, but what we all need is a really good travel bag. And I don't have it with me tonight, but I promise you, this is one of the best travel bags that I've ever had. It's like nice leather material. It's not over the top or anything like that. And it's just the right size. And I promise you, if you haven't checked that out, you should have. So there's that product, many of other products that you can get in the men's care, the men's grooming area over at manscaped.com. Visit over there and use the code E2C for 20% off plus free shipping. That's manscaped.com. Use the code 20% off plus free shipping. The code is E2C. Thank you to our sponsors, manscaped.com. All right, let's get back to the discussion here. We haven't really dived into a lot of stats and things like that. I do want to do some of that, but obviously I love talking to you guys and hearing your impressions about everything. So we will still focus on that mainly, but I do want to kind of look down here on some of the stats, maybe see what you guys think and things like that. Let's see, totally out of the blue here, but the J-Boy show today, they were talking about Harsin being considered for the University of Washington head coach job. Thoughts on that? I just don't see it happening. Well, depends on a lot of stuff. I'm not hearing anything on that front. I feel like I would start hearing some of those things pretty early from the people that I hear from on those type of situations, if there was any kind of validity to that. Here's the thing that you need to know is that coaches' agents are always floating their names out there, are always trying to, do y'all remember when Lincoln Riley was a candidate for the next Auburn head coach last year? My assumption is that was just part of the whole floated out there so you can re-up on your contract or they'll work harder to keep you and things like that. So now he does have connections out there. And does he want to move again to go back out there? It would make sense to me. If you don't want him going, if you don't want to go through this again, if you don't want to become Tennessee in terms of the roundabout wheel of coaches, you better start valuing him. I sure don't want that because that was always my fear. In my opinion, it'll take a few years to get Coach Harsin's plan in place. I want stability. The instant championship mentality we had in the past needs to go. Completely agree there. Might have to skip over a couple of these guys, but we'll keep trying to answer most of them we can. Chris, you may have missed this earlier. Will he get a shot or see him hitting the portal? We don't know either. I doubt he'll see, based off what Coach Harsin has said, as of this week, he won't see any time. But he's refuted the whole I'm transferring thing for now. Time changes everything. We'll find out, right? South Carolina was horrible last year, but what happened? I don't remember them being as bad as they are now, but that's just the nature of going through a transition time. We weren't great last year, but we didn't give up 40 points in a row. We had Kevin Steele as our defensive coordinator. It's kind of one of those things. How bad were you then is not necessarily equivalent to how bad or good you are now, especially when you go through that. At Neil, you should have the urge to go Manscaped. E2C. That is the code you need to use for 20% off, but free shipping. If you are overlooking South Carolina, you're crazy and arrogant. We are in free fall mode. We might be. It feels like that, doesn't it? Yeah, nobody needs to be looked over at this point. We've struggled with Georgia State. We let Mississippi State have 40 points that they never should have had. If there's a team left on this schedule, even the bowl game coming up, that you're thinking we've got in hand, I wouldn't be so sure. Speaking of which, I said we'll keep getting back to comments and questions. You guys feel free to call in if you'd like. There's the link in the chat. It's also at the very top of the chat window. Should be pinned up there. ESPN has it at 76%. Auburn wins. Obviously, everybody voted in that poll feels very confident about Auburn. Do you? Well, how about this? Let's do a quick poll of the room. No score predictions yet. Your percentage confidence that Auburn wins based off what you've seen from the team, what you know about South Carolina. How are you feeling right now? Percentage confidence that they wins out of 100. 76% on the ESPN poll thinks Auburn will win. Might be a little high for my taste at this moment, but I feel fairly confident. I'll share mine in just a little bit. A couple other main stats for you on their main page, and I'm just reading off their main page. So if you'd like to follow along, you can. Obviously, Bo Nix is listed at our leading passer, but that's not the point. Their leading passer is Dowdy. Is that how you say it? Or Dottie? 86 of 143, 975 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They've had a kind of a back and forth with their quarterbacks. So they're not as solidified as we were at one point. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Tank Bigsby is still in the 700s in his rushing. He needs to get past that so we can have another 700-yard rusher. White, their rusher, is got 462 yards on the season and only 2 touchdowns. So obviously rushing is not their forte. And it doesn't seem like passing is their forte either, with Van being their leading receiver, 36 receptions, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. Of course, Kobe Hudson's only got 2, but he's seen a lot more time and a lot more action. So those are some of the initial stats right now. Rob, Auburn over-under is 44.5. I'll take that bet anyway. This will be my last Auburn bet this season. Hopefully I can break even. I bet you have lost some money this year, buddy. Oh, I would not be a betting man this year. Joe, good to see you. Thanks for being here, buddy. 2-5 in the SEC in the East. Yep, South Carolina did do a free fall. I think that's going to probably be a mar on Coach Muschamp's record for a long, long, long time. Now they think Lincoln's going to LSU. I've heard that as well. I just don't understand why you would, though. Oklahoma's coming in the SEC. If you're wanting to come here to get the talent, it's coming. The chance to play in the SEC for the Oklahoma recruits is just around the corner, probably sooner than they think. So I would wait if I was him. He seems like he's got a pretty sweet gig up there. At this point, you'd be elated if we ruin Alabama's season. Well, it's always nice to play the spoiler every once in a while, right? Especially if you can't win something for yourself. All right, we do have some percentages I asked earlier. 65%, 125%, 50. We got 58%, 5%. Did the O-line get good at run blocking this week? Dusty, I wish I was like in the room. I'm giving you a virtual hug right now. I feel like you need a virtual hug. Dave Aranda might go to the LSU. Yeah, they might, or he might. We'll wait and see. Yeah, listen, I understand everybody or some people not wanting or not thinking there's a much chance to win based off what they're seeing. But, I think it's fair to say I'll put us somewhere in the range of probably like 60, between 55 and 60. I'll just say 60% just to make it even. The confidence that I think Auburn's going to win the football game. The line is 44.5. If you want to look at some other stats for this game, Auburn is scoring 31.6 points per game. We'll just say 31. And then South Carolina is scoring 23 points per game. So we're favored in that area. We're allowing 22. They're allowing 24. That's a little concerning, right? Of course, that'll happen when you give up 40 unanswered points. I've said that a lot tonight to Mississippi State. Passing, we are favored in that area by about 50, 250 for us, 200 for them. And then rushing, we're still favored 175 to 128. So all the stats favor us, some of them not by much. So if you look at all the stats here, and even yards allowed, actually we allow more yards than them. So that kind of goes to the fact that they might have a little bit better of a defense. So it seems like when you break this thing down for this week, the main advantage that South Carolina has is that defense. And while it's not Georgia's defense, not Mississippi State's to some degree, and it's not Texas A&M, certainly, it's still been, I think it was like number 4 in an important percentage, thinking about it, earlier. But yeah, that could be a problem. Hopefully the running game can benefit from the strong arm of Finley's downfield passing. Running game will drastically be different if we can get the defenses to get 8 or more out of the box. Well, that unfortunately has very little to do with the quarterback this season, at least, because that means that what you're inferring, if I'm understanding you correctly, is if you complete more, be better at passing, which Bo has done most of the season. You'd think that would alleviate that. No, when your offensive line, and I want to clarify, because I think I haven't said this enough at time. I thought it was implied, but I think some people get upset if you just don't say this. The blocking sometimes too, not sometimes, a lot of the times, is on those running backs that are back there. So whether it's Tank, whether it's Sean Shivers, whether it's Jarquez Hunter, they've got to be part of that blocking scheme too, to keep the quarterback off of their back and from having to run excessively. So remember, that's all part of the same thing, but it starts with the offensive line. So if you want them to stop loading the box, show that you can block them. Show that you can block them. And, listen, a lot of people want to argue the whole numbers game thing. And that is a good point. If you're sending 6 and you're only blocking with 5, someone's going to count it for. From what I remember my time at, playing football, you were taught ways to account for that uncovered man, especially if you're an offensive lineman, pushing them in certain ways. Now they're doing stunts too. And so that's all scheming and stuff like that. So it's tough. It really is. But if you really want them to stop loading the box as much, show that you can do something about it. They'd be stupid if they didn't. 90% we win, but I'm not leaving the room this time for 15 minutes like I did against Mississippi State. Wow. So you're the reason, Big Simp. Everybody, we know what happened now. It has nothing to do with the offense. It's because Big Simp left the room. How dare you, sir? How dare you? You're the reason. So if you can see, I'll take the comment down. I'm wearing the Rose Bowl shirt. I know a lot of you think I should throw it away, but I just can't because it's still part of my repertoire over there. We scored that last touchdown where Trey hit the guy, and obviously everybody lost their minds. They thought we were going to win the national championship again. It was so hot in the building that I was in. I was watching with a bunch of friends at what's called the Baptist Student Union, or the center, or whatever you want to call it. Had a big screen thing up and all. It was a really cool setup. And it was hot in there, so I had, just shorts on, but we were about to run out to celebrate, I thought, and it was freezing in January again in Auburn. And so I literally just threw my jeans on in the other room, trying to get ready to go run. When I came back in, I saw that we were down by a touchdown. I was like, what happened? So if you want to blame Big Simp for that loss, you can blame me for the national championship loss, because I'm sure we made a factor on that. Let's see. I would go back and watch what the Panthers did with Cam in 2015 and use those plays for TJ. You might learn some stuff from that, but even as bad as some of the blocking for Cam has been over the years with the Panthers, it's probably not been this bad. Dusty says, call it like I see it. Playing a backup quarterback on the road in the SEC, backup kicker in a game. That's, if you want to be worried somewhere. And listen, I'm not trying to dog our backup kicker. I was a kicker myself. I know the pressures of that, and that's why I'm worried. When you haven't had legit, I think, didn't Ben Patton get to kick one when early on in the season? So that's about the only, time he's had out there, and that was an extra point. Oh, I hope we can get close enough for him to try field goals if we have to do that. But how cool of a story would it be if he does it? Excuse me. USC has a great D-line. Auburn's O-line will have to win in the trenches. It's been the same story for all this season, guys. I mean, this was the matchup that was always going to win or lose the game. Obviously, a lot of other areas play big roles in that. Bo's terrible game against Georgia State didn't help the offensive line in any sense of the word, but at the same time, the game is won at the line of scrimmage. It's over with. The discussion over with. Bo has definitely improved in accuracy-wise this season, but his downfield passing isn't his strong suit. But TJ's strong suit may be downfield passing. Maybe. We don't know that yet, right? He hasn't had as much. He's had, I think, the one really good throw in the Georgia State game that he hit. Seen him throw it in practice, open practices and the 8A game and stuff like that. So here's the thing. I will relent to you that Bo, his forte is probably not downfield passing. He has improved in that area somewhat. A lot of that stuff that we were seeing at the beginning of the season, we now know was a lot of what was going on with the coaching and stuff like that. And some of it, it's still on Bo to make the correct passes, to put it in the right places, but there was a lot of miscommunication happening, which still some is on Bo. But a lot of that was the coaching and instruction they were getting, apparently, or they weren't getting at one point. Let's see here. Isn't South Carolina's starting quarterback a coach? Now, this has been one. I was having this conversation, and we were all still confused by it. So somebody else can clarify if they'd like to. at one point, it was a former graduate assistant they had to call in to be the quarterback. How odd is that, right? He is. I don't believe that's Dowdy, however you say that. That's somebody else that they brought back in. But yeah, um, it's been confusing for them. It's been if you are frustrated with what you've seen this season, imagine being South Carolina and having had a taste of relevancy, 5-6 years ago, and now you just can't get it together again after Spurrier left. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I long and miss for the days of Les Miles, Steve Spurrier back in the league, and I know that's never going to be a fruition again for various reasons. I'm thankful that we brought in characters like an Ed Orgeron for now. That's soon to change. Lane Kiffin, Mike Leach, as much as I despise the man right now. But yeah. Schematically, the running game always benefits from respecting deep passes. Most defenses this season have been daring us to successfully go deep, haven't enough to keep 8 or more out of the box. And that's fair. And that's why I'll relent to you that some of that is, they know that's not Bo's strongest suit. But Bo has shown, and the perfect example is the last game, that beautiful ball that he threw to Kobe Hudson, or only he could get it in one-handed hand. And I mean, that's what you got to do. Give your players to make a chance, have a chance to make a play. And you can see how when the communication's better, probably the coaching's gotten a little bit better. Some of those things that weren't happening, like magic like that, started happening. And it makes you wonder, what if, right? Jack, what do you think the chances of TJ being the starter week 1 next season? Well, obviously, use your words, Kyle. Obviously depends on how he performs the last 3 games here, and if he stays healthy, and then how Bo, if he decides to come back. So if you had asked me this question before Bo's injury, I would have said probably 99% TJ's the starter because I didn't think Bo was coming back. Now I'm starting to, I probably was like 99% there saying that earlier this week. I'm like 99.999%. I don't know if I'll ever get to that 100% that Bo's coming back, but we'll see. So if you're asking me about chances that he's being the starter, I mean, if Bo comes back, he's the starter. He's more than done enough to prove that he can improve. He's got the ability to make magic. So if Bo's in the equation, barring a just skyrocketing, improvement by TJ, Bo's the starting quarterback. So you need to prepare yourself for that. And can we all just address this right now? Please. Can we not go through this again next year? I know that there are idiots out there that are the case in point of the conversations I was having online this week and in our comments are right there. You've just got some very hateful people. Let's just not go through this again. Let's just accept who the quarterback is, understand they're not going to be perfect, and roll with them. Show them their support. I'm tired of all this. I'm just tired of it. And that's not at you, Jack. It's just, I know I can already sense it building right here. We need for Roger to step up and teach these youngins how to knock a pass down. You just can't teach legendary like Roger has. It's a gift. He didn't have, a stellar game last time, but he had a really difficult matchup. One thing you still don't do is throw to Roger Island because it's a really, really scary place. Rob, appreciate you reminding people to smash that like button. All right, we're not at the end of the show, but again, I know that War Report goes on at 9. I know a lot of you want to shift over there, so please do make sure that you smash that like button if you haven't. Check out some of the links in the description. We're not done, by the way. We're going to take more comments and questions, maybe calls if you guys want to call in. But check out links in the description. If you want to help support the content here, whether that's becoming a channel member, it's $1 a month. That's all it takes. Or a Booster Club member. That's also only $1 a month, but there are different tiers that you can get. At that level, there's also the TeePublics where you can get some of our gear and stuff like that. There's PayPal if you just want to do one-time donation stuff. Or if you just want to be here and hang out, that's cool too. But thank you to so much of our Booster Club members, our channel members for supporting us and helping me do this every single day. It is something that I really, really enjoy doing. But with that, let's look at some of the other comments and questions you guys have. TD Moultrie out for the first half because of the targeting last week. Yes, he would be. Right. We had this discussion one time when someone was targeting. We all disagreed on how long he was actually going to be out, but it happened in the third quarter, right? Or beginning of the fourth. So he should be out for the first half. I heard that they had appealed it. Haven't heard anything on that. Maybe it'll be a game time decision. Unfortunately, you will not see the officials. They have taken so much heat for the lack of judgment in this area this year from the officials that they're not going to admit fault, because if they do, that means they're going to have to change. It's very frustrating. I agree the wide receivers looked better than early season. When rewatching the last few games recently, I found wide receivers and tight ends have dropped or ran incorrect routes on too many crucial third and fourth downs. Absolutely. And really, that's it. The drops, even as frustrating and as much as they shouldn't happen, it's simply just what's frustrated me more than anything was lining up off sides. You saw my rant about that earlier in the season, was not knowing where you're supposed to be. How many times did Bo throw to an area and then the wide receiver turns around and he doesn't know where the ball is? Those are things that shouldn't happen. Drops shouldn't happen, but it's in an in-game situation. You're kind of like, if you can't stop dropping the ball, then you're not going to be out there. It is improved, but it's still got a long way to go. 100% agree, Rob. Thanks for sharing sentiments on that. Let's see here. I do agree with you about who's going to be quarterback. But hey, listen, if here's the good thing. If TJ goes out there and shows us, or I'm not even going to say it. I was going to jinx this here. Whoever goes out there and shows us that they are the better option, I'm sure that coach is going to pay attention to that, and they go back out and handle their business at practice. They'll be the starting quarterback, and I don't care who that is. I mean, I care. I want Bo out there because I love Bo, and I want his story to end well. I don't want his story to end this way. Because I love the Jason Campbell story. Nobody's story is exactly the same, but if you've been an Auburn fan, you're going to be hard pressed not to make the comparisons so far between the Jason Campbell story and the Bo Nix story. Jason was highly touted, thought of by every single body that he was going to be the next great quarterback at Auburn. Played behind Daniel Cobb and got some more time and then got flipped in and out and all the stuff. The whole team, including him, had a terrible 2003. And while this year probably hasn't been as bad as that one, at some points it has, they turned a corner finally and got to that 2004 magical year, and look what happened. And I'm not saying, folks, that that's going to happen this year. But there are a lot of parallels in Jason Campbell and Bo Nix, and even Jason Campbell has reiterated that. I hope that's the way it's going to end. Let's see here. First down. Let's see. First down, most crucial down for us offensively this week. Got to keep TJ ahead of the sticks. Absolutely. And that was part of the problem in the second half last week, right? Is we would spend 2 downs when we finally decided we wanted to try to establish a run and not get anywhere. And then we'd be 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7. And while Bo has been able to show that ability to get those with his legs or throwing the ball, you don't want to have to do that very often. So if we're getting in those situations, yes, I agree with Dusty that we're going to have a very long, long day. Let's see here. Yeah, and there's already some comments here that we're not going to address and they know they're being idiots. So we're just going to let them be. But tired of arguing with friends about the Bo TJ situation. Yeah, it's just, there are some people that are just hateful. And that's really what it is. And they just can't stop being that way at some point. So just the best thing that you can do is just ignore them. It really is. Don't give them what they want is what they want, a reaction. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Let's see here. What else we got going on here? Oh, here we go. Minds of conflict. There you are, buddy. This is one of the people we had some conversations with this week. So phone line's open if you want to call in and talk. We'll stay for a few minutes if you'd like to. So feel free to take advantage if you'd like to. John, War Eagle to you as well, sir. Let's see. I love Auburn over every player. I don't even care if it's Grant Loy. I just want Auburn to win. You know, it was really funny the last couple of seasons. Everybody was on the hype train for gosh, help me. Who was the guy? The 26-year-old wonder. Help me, guys. Oh, he's not here anymore. Cord Sandberg. Everybody was on the train of Cord Sandberg for Heisman just because it was funny, and it was one of the best things ever. Maybe Cord, if heaven forbid something that would happen to TJ or Demetrius or something like that, can we go? It's like the South Carolina situation. Like, can we get them to bring in a GA or someone off the bench or someone that's not even technically a part of the roster at this point to be a quarterback? D-line hasn't been great since Derek Brown was. What year was that? So that was 2 years ago. They were pretty good last year. They weren't, as good. I mean, when you lose a guy like Derek Brown, right? Derek Brown is just a beast. He's a first-round draft pick. So you're going to see a little bit of a drop down. But at the same time, it's just interesting. Is it the players that are here now, the people that left that aren't getting it done? Is it, the scheme? I'm kind of leading that way. It's the scheme that's just not getting it done for us, or maybe it's the players aren't matching up with it on defensive line wise, but I don't know. Plainsman Murph, thank you so much for being a channel member, by the way. But thank you for your support, and thanks for being here. All right, get your last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals. They're always appreciated. I love derogatory rebuttals if they're appropriate. So get them in right now if you'd like to. Again, I want to remind you as we get towards the end of our show here, if you haven't, please do make sure that you go support manscaped.com, our sponsor for the live streams this month. You can use the code E2C. That's the letter E, the number 2, the letter C, E2C at manscaped.com. You can get 20% off plus free shipping. Any other items there. It's good stuff. Check it out, please. Support them, and thank you for them supporting our live streams. Let's see here. Let's get Fairley back. If only. He actually had some medical issues, and he's not even playing football anymore. Auburn sports, good bourbon. Thank you, E2. Do I cause you to drink, Rob? I don't know that I want to be associated with you drinking. But I guess I'll take you however I can get you on the show here. All right. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you, whether we agree or disagree, for popping in here, saying hello, sharing your thoughts. Oh, you know what we didn't do? Hold on. I'm sorry. I started close. We didn't do score predictions. Guys, how did y'all let me get away with this? We're not leaving just yet. Score predictions right now, Auburn versus South Carolina. I cannot believe I'm mad at myself, but I'm mad at y'all for letting me get this far without score predictions. Right now, let's get the score predictions before we get out of here. I am so messed up and ashamed of myself for that. How did I get this far in the show without letting us do score predictions? Rob says 30-20. Again, the betting line is 44.5. If you care about that kind of stuff, there's a 70% chance favored on ESPN, if that makes a difference to you. Corey says 28-14. Southeastern Kaiju, what a name. 36-14. 21-17 South Carolina. I mean, as Dusty and I have talked about a lot in this stream, that you need to take them seriously. I wouldn't take them that seriously, but I guess that's not too bad of a differential there. Gray, good to see you, buddy. 31-13. By the way, Gray and his dad are the host of our basketball podcast. You need to check it out if you haven't. Plainsman Murph, 24-10. That's a scary score. Or 28-10, I guess, would have been a scarier score. 77-3. Dusty. Oh, Dusty. No, don't do that to me, buddy. Don't do that to me. I'm giving you a virtual hug again. I got to get your faith back in this team. And I don't know that I could do much of a job here because you and I both think very similarly here, but 10, we ain't kicking field goals. Okay, I see your point there. Well, that would be a field goal then, unless we do. I think I see what you did there. You did a touchdown, 2-point conversion, and a safety. I see you. 34-23 Auburn. It could be a 3-2 game. Don't do that to me. Pate Productions, thanks for being here. 29 for Auburn, 23 for the Lamecocks. That is interesting. All right, looks like everybody else needs to head out too or head over to War Rapport. So if you head over there, tell them hello. Tell them that we sent you and tell them War Eagle. Thank you guys so much. Smash the like button on the way out. Hope to see you on the channel this week with some other videos and stuff coming out. And we'll probably do a reaction show after the South Carolina game. Again, thank you guys. God bless you. And War Eagle.